You said rock and roll. That's the devil, Bobby.
That's that's how it should start. That's the devil.
That's okay. We just started. So Clutch said rock and roll. That's how our whole stream is probably going to go.
Awesome.
So you guys had a quiet night last night. We did pizza
Hmm.
and just like I was talking to you about, we were listening to music, playing Mario Kart, doing things like normal people. I don't know, you want to talk about overreacting to the evil things in life, or do you want to talk about the other thing we were asking, when it's okay to fight or when to walk
We
away?
could we could start. Well, let's start at the first one. Sure, let's start there.
Okay, okay. So this is my thought. Okay, when are we overdoing it? When are we overdoing it, or where is the line? Right? A lot of people see us talk about, you know, ACDC. We grew up as 80s and 90s kids, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you did too, because you dated yourself with your comments about Morgan Mindy. Um, but you know,
Nanu, Nanu. Did you guys get why I was saying that? Because she was saying she had some kind of like glitch with her phone, and I was like, kind
yeah.
of saying maybe it was the aliens or the robots or something. I don't
And
know.
then you said Nanu Nanu, and I just started laughing, and
Yeah.
I thought everybody got it, but
Yeah, I didn't know if it translated, but all good, all good.
yeah. But those are things that made us who we are, and I mean, don't you think?
Yeah.
We
Sure.
and on the religious or faith side, we now know the difference, and we now know, and we now see the symbolisms and things. But I mean, are we going to go running scared and hide under a rock the rest of our life and
Do you
wait?
remember the satanic panic of the 80s?
I really don't, because I was born in '76, so by that time I was maybe 10 years old, and I didn't really follow a lot of that stuff. I
Yeah.
was traveling. I think I was living in Japan for a year, the Philippines, and Hawaii.
All
I
right.
didn't really keep in touch with that. So tell me what you saw.
I was born in 77, so I was like the same age. But
It's all right. Nobody's
I just
perfect.
I just remember like I was a kid too, so I'm seeing it through kids' eyes. But I've gone back and looked at some of it, and just everything was the devil, kind of like what we're talking about right now. Like music, it's
Really?
the devil. Uh, like there's a game called Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Devil,
I had.
devil, like
Yeah.
anything, everything was the devil. And like, and then there would be like lots of these cases where there would be someone's like, oh, I went under hypnosis and I was molested by so and
Oh,
so. And then like, and then all these kids would come out. Yeah, we were all. I'm not saying that none of any of them were lying or none of them lie. I don't know. Like, I'm just talking about what I remember seeing
but it's
as a kid.
manipulation in the mind. So who knows what's real and what's
Right.
wrong?
That's
Yeah.
something I thought we should say at the beginning of a show is like we are not giving medical advice, we're not giving you political advice, we're not giving you
That's true.
spiritual advice, we're not giving you health advice, we're giving you no advice. Don't take any advice from us.
Amen. This is just the crazy opinions of some Canadian in the woods and a lunatic down in Reno.
That's right. Who makes
That's right.
crank calls?
Yes.
Don't
I
call
felt,
me. Don't call
dude,
me.
do you know how tempted I was to call that number back and seek out that lady that I talked to just to tell her I was sorry? I felt that bad. I felt that bad.
I'm sorry
I,
to laugh at you. It's kind of funny though, right?
it
Like
is funny,
you can see the
but
humor.
I sat there for about 10 minutes like, oh man, I was really harsh with her. And I could tell by her voice. She was genuinely
You just
confused.
wrecked her day.
And I just, yeah, and I just, happy
She went home
Friday.
and like smacked her kid or something, yelled at her husband. Uh,
And her poor husband's probably like, what happened to you?
yeah,
Oh
wow.
no. But yes, I have seen things every once in a while, read things every once in a while about people that just overreacted, and
Oh,
okay, here's one. You've seen them they made the movie The Mist after the novel by Stephen King. God forbid. I've read Stephen King. I know he's the devil, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that movie. The actor that was on The Punisher. See, there's another
Yeah,
demon movie.
I've seen that movie. Yeah,
Okay,
both of them, both that you're
okay,
mentioning. And I'll say
okay,
this: I've had a bit of an opposite thing with King. Like I read a lot of Stephen King, a lot, and
right,
it's only recently where he's a little creepy in public and said some weird things where I'm like, oh, maybe I don't want to read him anymore. But I've read a lot of Stephen King, and they were awesome books. Like, he's a great writer. What else can
yeah.
I say?
Well,
Does that
let me.
mean maybe he is? Maybe he is. Let's say he's a Satanist. I'm not saying like this is allegedly. This is not a true statement. I'm not claiming he is. Let's just say hypothetically he
What
is a
if he was?
Satanist, right? And he's all into evil. Do like I should probably be careful what I consume of him, but like just because he created something doesn't necessarily mean that that creation is evil, right? Maybe he like makes a cure
Right.
for cancer. Would
Well,
we like
see,
say? Would we say no? We don't want it because you're evil. Like
well,
you
that's
know.
okay. Here's an analogy for you, right? You drive a car, obviously, because you like to pound
Right.
bears in the head with it. And but here's the thing. Okay, you're a perfect situation. We all have cars. And
Yeah.
out of cars, the creation of these cars were never it was to make life better. It was all selfish reasons. Originally the automobile was invented to mitigate the piles of dung that horses were leaving behind, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And okay, and now they are a creation of convenience, sheer, you know, profit, manufacturing. There is nothing about cars really that is made to make people better, you know, and it kills people. It people do horrendous stuff with them. They steal them. Right. So are we going to get rid of cars? I mean,
Right.
are we going to just say, well, that's an evil product. We need to wipe that off the face of the earth. What are you going to do? Walk everywhere? Maybe that's a bad analogy, but in my
No. Yeah.
mind, it's it's okay. First of all, Stephen King's novels, they're entertainment. Okay, you've
They
got
sure
to
are.
understand the difference between what you're taking in as gospel, which is a good word to use, or what are you taking in as just sheer entertainment. Okay, you're going to have your kids go outside and play in the sprinklers and you're going to waste all that water. That's terrible of you. We're in a drought right now. Come on.
Now,
You know what
a
I
lot
mean?
of yeah, and I agree. And but at the same time, we should be
We should
cautious
be
of
smart.
right. Like, what do you want your children to see? What kind of images are you willing to see that are gonna
Right.
like what kind of messages is this gonna bother you? Can you differentiate? I can't speak.
I know what you're trying to say. Differentiate.
Yeah, sorry. Like, can you tell the difference between reality and fantasy? Like, what? I don't
Well,
know. And
that's why we are the parents, isn't it? We
right.
are the parents because we need to make that decision. And when you're
And I
teaching children between right and wrong, they become old enough to make that decision on their own. You have to trust that you've taught them correctly.
I'm careful. Like, there's some stuff that my youngest kid watches that I've kind of censored. Like, I don't want to
Yep.
say any brands, but like certain children's, it's like a little company that makes weird little song videos. I've kind of like there was weird imagery in there I found, and there was another cartoon where she watched that I noticed there was in the background of the show always there was like weird uh like homosexual like not activity but
Really?
like like two guys who are obviously a couple riding on a bike together, something like stuff like that, like
Oh,
weird little stuff in the background. which was, I just found it weird. So I was like, oh, let's watch a different cartoon. I didn't even like mention why or say make a big deal about it.
Right.
We grew up on Disney.
Yes,
So
I was just thinking of that.
like my wife wants to watch some movies, like she watches Cinderella, for example, with my daughter. And like, what
Right.
am I going to say?
Yeah.
Like, you can't watch that. Like, like, that's Satan. That's Satan. And there's
Yeah.
weird stuff. And she even said, like, the cat's name is Rucifer, not Lucifer,
Yeah.
Rucifer. Like,
I
weird.
know.
Yeah.
I
So,
remember that.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this exactly. But
No,
yeah,
no, you started a good example because I was just gonna go there with Disney, and I never noticed any of that stuff when I was a kid. I grew up on Snow White and Cinderella, and then the last movie that I saw in a theater with both my mother and father was Aladdin. Or I'm sorry, The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid,
yeah, yeah.
and those are good memories. And then when I joined the military, they used to give us discount tickets to Disney World. So, my son was only 5 years old, and his dad was like, "Well, I've never been to Florida. I heard it's hot," and so we went, and you know, my son has great memories, and there are beautiful parts. And I'm not glorifying Disney, okay? Let me just put a pin right there for everybody that's starting to freak out, because I don't want them to hear this and just think like, "Oh my God, she's promoting it." It's not that. It's just I'm talking about my personal experience. My son still has a little R2D2 toy that he won at one of these games there. He went there for his birthday. So these are memories. And then later on, I started to see and understand, like, whoa, there's some things that were put into this stuff. And okay, I'm not going to say like the damage is done, because I think it was something that was constructive at the time, because we we went there for that reason, you know? And
Yeah.
then knowing now, the last time we went, they were just starting to build whatever the land is where Harry Potter is from, the castle and the construction of that little town where you get butterbeer and all that stuff from Harry Potter. And
Okay.
we didn't really understand it because we weren't really into Harry Potter. And that's when I was beginning to see things more in faith, and I was kind of pushing away from Harry Potter, and therefore started seeing things with Disney. Now, if I was a mother of another 5-year-old at this time, I think I would be, a little, I would not take her to or him to Disney World now because of what I know. But I
It's
guess what
something.
I'm saying is sometimes we grow up on things, and when we recognize it for what it is, we make the adjustment. And you can be careful, but don't be like, you know, paranoid. I'm not going to throw out all this Disney stuff that my son has as good memories, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I like things are a little one. I was writing notes again. One thing
No,
I
that's
noticed
okay.
is things are more overt now, much more overt. Like the
Hmm.
messages back then were subtle and few and far between. Now it's just in your face, in your face, in your face. So
That's
a,
true.
a, a lot of the stuff we do consume is older stuff. We don't go in for a lot of modern new stuff. So that's just one small thing we do. I was thinking of an example. The Little Mermaid is like an. Do you know about
The
the
cover,
cover? Yeah, like
yes.
that's I guess like a more subtle. I don't know why they would do that. Like it's weird, right? Like did they
Right.
do it on purpose? I don't know. It's
Well,
weird
when
stuff.
I was a kid and I saw the cover, I never saw that.
I never
And
saw.
it had not been
But I
uh
guess that goes to our innocence then.
yes, yes, I had not been taught to find the perversion in those things yet.
Right. Right.
And I think in a way maybe that's what Disney's overall purpose could be, is to corrupt the children. You know what I mean?
Let's say you have a kid though, and you like shelter him from everything.
See,
What would happen to that guy if he ever went into the real world? You like they would just they wouldn't be able
well,
to handle it. And I'm not saying that I don't know. That's not a great maybe example, but
no, it's a great example. It's a great example. And here, let me. Have you ever read A Brave New World?
oh yeah,
You have. Remember when
yep.
the guy, and you know what's ironic is
The
my husband
savages.
read it. Yeah, he, the savages, right? And then he ends up killing himself because he just. I'm sorry, spoiler alert, but he ends up killing himself because he
Yeah,
just can't handle, like, what the, and but
yeah,
it's kind of the opposite. It's kind of like he was in the real world and came into this new world, but basically I agree. I think a lot of the reasons why our older generation is so freaking tough is because we grew up on this, in this kind of culture where you know we were allowed to be bad for a while, and we were exposed to that, and then we changed, we matured. If we shelter our kids, and people like that call themselves religious groups, or these cults or cultic kind of mentality where, oh, the movie's bad, Christian music's bad, the color orange is bad, and then we got these children that are fear porned into a spineless society. How are they going to fight back? How are they going to know what to do and what not to do? They're not going to know what to do with themselves.
yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, you're right. You're right. I was thinking when the Amish have this thing. Do you know about that? I can't remember what it's called. It's like Runzbrugger or some weird German name, like something like that, where
No, I heard it.
their youth are kind of like at a certain age, maybe it's 18, I'm not exactly sure. They're like told to go into like civilization, like live with us. And it's I
Really?
think for like a year. Yeah. And then they're allowed to choose whether they want to go back to being Amish or if they want to stay with the with society.
That makes sense because I was in the military with a girl who grew up in Mennonite. Is it?
Mennonites.
I don't remember because we were learning Korean in the military, right?
Yep.
And the exercise was to say in Korean, uh, "What color car did you have growing up?" And she sat there just freaking out, and the teacher was finally like, yeah, she was like, she held, you if you have to use English, you have to hold up this card, right? She
Yeah.
held up her card, and she's very meek about it, and she's like, we didn't have a car, we had a horse named May. And then everybody started laughing. And so but I think she went through that. Is she did grow up, in that community, and at a certain age, she said that her parents allowed her out to decide what she wanted to do. I was like, you could just do that,
Yeah,
and,
that's what they do. Yeah.
yeah, and of course the army guy who was in charge of our group, he was like, "So what'd you do? Just walk over and flip the light on, or what?" And she said that she packed up her stuff, and there was a family that they knew that lived in like Virginia or something, and she was there for 3 years, decided she wanted to join the Air Force, and here she is. And I didn't understand it, but now that you explain it like that, I it makes sense. And I wouldn't say she was sheltered. Um, she fell in love with a soldier, and they got married there on the beach of Monterey, California. It was great.
Yeah. Awesome.
Maybe jumped into it a little fast, but I mean, who am I to deny love, right? But yes,
It's
I
just a balance. I think you just need a balance. I don't think there's Illuminati behind every corner. They're not. There. There's
waiting to,
you could
yeah,
be, and I think it's more like I know I spoke about this guy before, Matt from Quantum of Conscience, and I think
yes,
it's more like he describes. It's like it's not so much. I get it gets a little weird, but it's not so much that there's like conspiracies behind every corner. It's more that reality kind of like just does it on its own. Like it kind of creates its own little conspiracies and rabbit holes for you to follow. And if you want to see 33s that mean something behind every corner, then it's gonna.
Right?
And
Yes.
if you don't want that, then that's not gonna happen. And so you kind of like once you feed it, it never leaves, right? That saying.
Yes. And
The more
I
you feed into it, the more you're gonna
the
see it.
more it becomes a hysteria.
Yeah.
You
So it's
comply
bad.
to a hysteria.
Right.
And
Then
I'm
you get a
sorry,
cult
but it
leader that
yeah,
plays on that fear or that emotion, and they run with it, and then you're shaving your head and putting
yeah.
on
What
black Nikes and
Black Nikes
drinking some, yeah, and off you go to try to get onto Haley's Comet. Like, what the
or
hell?
some spaceship and yeah. No, I agree and
Crazy.
I I'm sorry?
I said it's just crazy.
Well, that's the thing. If you are going to listen to crazy, you're going to go crazy. I mean, uh, I had a conversation with Bubba News, good
Oh,
guy,
yeah.
and I remember one of the first comments I in a chat with him one time talking about Christian music, right? And somebody else had mentioned that some group like Hillsong or Bethel or something were actually devil worshippers. And I'm like, but they made such beautiful Christian music. I was a little stunned. And my comment was, that's heartbreaking because when I came to Christ at the time that I was just starting to come around, Christian music played a big role in comforting me and kind of making me like some songs actually quoted scripture, so I would go look it up, and therefore I'm reading the Bible because of these songs, right? And Bubba agreed. He said, "Yeah, me too. It moved me to a better place." So are they evil? Maybe if that was their intent, it didn't work. Sorry, you failed. But
I went through a
I
big Christian music phase too, by the way. Where
yeah,
like DC
yeah.
Talk. I don't know if you remember that band.
Yes, that's where Toby Mac and the Newsboys came from.
The
And
Newsboys. Yeah, yeah. I forgot
yes,
about the Newsboys. Oh,
yeah. Michael and Toby both started DC Talk, and they went on their own. They're still best friends, and they each make different music, but it's good. It's sorry, it's uplifting to me, and I
why
don't
not?
know if I necessarily agree that they are evil or that they have symbolism. You know what? But I'm not seeing it, and I see it for the positive things that it is.
Yeah, like things can just mean something different to you, right? Like that's where
Right?
I struggle with Christmas is a big one we struggle with because
Yeah.
we my wife read this story that this guy wrote, and I'm gonna like I can't I'll paraphrase it and I'll butcher it, but
That's okay. Just
if I can find it or get her to find it again, I'll pass it on to you. But he describes like ancient men in northern Europe and the sun going down, and yeah, it's pagan, yes it is, and like how they like celebrated that and had that big feast and came together with the hope that the light would come back, and then the light
right.
comes back, and how like that goes into our roots, like way deep into our DNA. And I kind of believe that memories can be left in our DNA, like memories of our ancestors experienced. I know it's kind of weird sounding, but I
No, I've
think that
heard of that before.
I think it's somewhere in us, and it's not only that, like that's that weirdness, but it's also like for me and my wife, we like to have people come over at that time of the year, and we like to have a oh here goes like we're the devil. We like to have a
Devil
drink with
Bobby.
them. We like to have a drink, like where I'm not talking we're gonna get hammered or anything, but like a Christmas, like some festive drink,
Right?
and like just talk, and we like to have meals with people, and we like to go places, and kids are running around and laughing, and and like, yeah, it's dark outside, especially up here, dude. It's dark by 4 o'clock, maybe 3:30. Like, I'm not even kidding. It gets dark quick. It's cold. You have all these nice decorations inside. They're all bright. Everything's bright and shiny. And
You know what
like,
that sounds like
do I
to
think
me?
Jesus was born that day? Absolutely not. I do not believe that at all. And I'm not celebrating the birth of Jesus. Like, I really am not. We're just getting together and like trying to make it through a cold, dark winter. Like,
Well, you know
really?
what it sounds like to me? It sounds like fellowship.
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah. And you know, there was nothing in the Bible that said you were not allowed to drink, because even Christ at the wedding with his mother Mary, there was wine. She
Yeah.
asked him, right? Didn't she
Being a
ask him?
drunkard is the problem, and it's clear in the
Exactly.
Bible.
It was drunkenness, not drinking.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you are with people that you are friends with, family with, and you get together, and I'm sorry if it happens to be around November or December, you know, I think what I think
And it's a reason, exactly right there. It's a reason, like, everybody's so busy, everybody does their own thing. It's a reason that we're going to get together that day. Like,
right.
it's, you know what I mean? And so we're coming together. Like, is God really angry about that? Like, because if he is, I really, truly don't understand him. Like, I don't get him, because I think he'd be happy if he was
Well,
among, like, families laughing and having a feast and children running around. I think that's heaven.
well, here's my question to you, or whoever listens to this. If you before I I want to say before 2014ish, 2015, I was never told that Christmas was had started as a pagan. I was never told anything about that pagan stuff.
Yeah.
In my mind, Christmas really was about the birth of Christ. And every Christmas, even when I was deployed, Clutch, I was by myself. And it was the greatest Christmas I ever had, because I did spend time with Scripture. I read the book of John, Mark, Luke, and all that. And when I read the part about the crucifixion of Christ, and you know, all of that, I was moved. And it to me it was about that. So my question to you, you know, whether if it's what God thinks or anybody else thinks, if you're going through the motions of a pagan ritual unknowingly because you think it's about Jesus, does that make it a sin for you to do that? I mean, is it really? And in
Then it's
my mind,
intent, right? It's all about
right?
intent, and
And I'm
judging
not. I'm
you
not.
on what you know and the intent of your heart. It's got to be. There can be no
Well,
other fair, just way.
and don't you suppose that God understands that this relationship that we talk about with as people of faith is a private relationship between this individual and Jesus and God. And if I'm sitting here celebrating his birthday, of course I'm not going to know the exact date. It was thousands of years ago, but I'm giving all glory to him. So, you know, I didn't realize that putting lights on a tree was a sin. You know, that's where I feel like the line should be drawn with this hysteria of pointing the finger at people that put up Christmas lights. You
See, and
know,
I grew up the same way. Like, I knew, or not knew, I was told it's all about the birth of Jesus. We had the nativity scene in school and like
yeah,
all that. But as I grew up and I got wise, I realized it wasn't, and I learned more and more as I grew older. And now I know that it's not. I'm
right.
not really celebrating it. I'm going to be honest. I don't, because I don't think we should that way, but I, it's still a cultural thing. And like, I'm
It's a
sure God is
tradition for some families.
great. And I'm sure God, like, when he created humans, like, he must have known that humans are going to go do human things and have their own culture. And do you know
Right.
what I mean? And it's going to be
Yes.
like, why would he be mad about that? I don't get it. Like, I don't, especially like the winter thing. Like, it's all about the light and like the light coming back. And I
Yeah.
know that can be an allegory for the sun, and I get all that. I get it. But it's, if you've never, you might know the taste of winter soon enough. Like,
Yeah, if we end up in Minnesota, I'm gonna be
right.
right
You'll
there with
you'll
you.
you'll get what I'm talking about when it's 4 o'clock, it's -30, and it's dark as hell. And
And you're like,
you
where'd the day go?
yeah, and you'll appreciate that big festival, whatever it
Yeah.
your intent. So I
Well,
don't know. That's I don't know.
no, you're right. I'll say this. I mean, to us, it's a tradition that we look forward to because if whatever we're celebrating, like for example, you know, Cold Springs King has an heirloom decoration. It's a wooden house about a foot tall, and then inside is the nativity scene. And you
Mm.
can actually pop a little light in the back, and it becomes the North Star. It's very old. He's had
I
it.
know it sounds like one my grandma had. I can see it in my
Yes,
mind.
in fact, that's where he got it from was his family, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We're not going to throw that out
No,
because it's the
no.
devil, Bobby. You know what I mean?
Like, okay, for us, I don't, my wife is a little upset with me about this one, but I tell them it's not Santa. I'm like, they can do all that.
Oh,
I'm like, no, it's not Santa. Santa's not real. I don't play that. But my wife has little statues of Santa. Maybe it's an idol. I don't know. Maybe I guess technically it is, but that her grandma gave her, right? And
oh,
we don't like they're all like these different little weird Santas and what so we're just supposed to trash them and be like, no, fuck this, that's
yes,
the devil. And like
yeah,
not all those memories she had as a kid and everything, like we're not worshiping that thing. We're not praying to it. We're not leaving any sacrifice to it. We don't do
right.
any of that nonsense. So like what like I don't know. We're not I don't
I think it's just important to know the difference between when you are and getting moving toward worshiping something, or when you're just when you have a tradition with your family and you're doing something that your family's done every year in December, and you have these things that mean a lot to you. You know, now are you worshiping that item or whatever is different, but you're not worshiping it.
if I left
And
like a meal to it every night and like kneeled by it and like said a little prayer and
oh
that
my God.
that would be different, right?
You're
That would
you're
be
describing a Buddhist shrine right there.
okay. Well,
No, you really
that,
are because we
I
had that in our house every
that's a
day. My
bit
mom
different.
would, yeah. See,
But that's
that's
a
the
cultural thing, right? Like I can't make a judge. I'm not judging you for that. I'm not saying you're
right.
like just to
Well,
be
I
clear.
don't do that now. I hope you
Yeah.
don't think I did that now. But I remember growing up, we had
Go
a
ahead, even
a
if you did.
shrine. Yeah, and my mom would put fresh fruit on it every other day, and pictures of our ancestors above the Buddha statue, and then three incense sticks, and then she would bow 3 times, say prayer, bow 3 times. She'd do that for everything in threes, you know.
I've
And
been sorry, I should
no,
have
go
wrote
ahead.
that
I
down.
was done.
I've
That
been
was I
learning
don't know.
about. I've been learning a lot about. Oh, this here comes the devil, Bobby.
No.
I've been learning about Hinduism a lot, and I've been reading the Bhagavad Gita. I
Uh
showed
huh.
you some pictures of that, some verses.
Yes.
Uh, and I just learned, I guess, through YouTube because I was looking at stuff like that and like looking up phrases and names and stuff, what stuff meant. Like sometimes they use a term and I don't understand it, so I have to look
Right.
it up. And I they were talking about Buddhism, and this guy was doing a lecture on Buddhism, and he was saying that it was like the and I'm not trying to like be offensive, but it was the sacrilege of Hinduism. It was
Yep.
like an evil version of Hinduism. I don't know. I never.
They all warred together. They warred against each other.
Yeah, this is all new to me, right? So I was fascinated
Yeah.
by it. Yeah, I never knew. So I guess
And
you wise to that.
I believe the Hindus and the Islamists they actually fought together, and it was the East
Against the
Indian
Buddhists.
Trade Company. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And when the East Indian Trade Company came in and they were trying to dominate that area, they were too strong, and so they created the division between the Hindus and the Islamists. and
Boy.
that's how they were able to overcome. So,
Yeah.
so I throw in that division thing because I think in a lot of ways I see a lot of people of faith falling apart from each other because of little things like this, everything we were just talking about.
So could
You're
there be, do you think, okay, I'm going to be clear about what I believe. And
Go
then
ahead.
I think there's one God, like one source of everything. I don't understand him, but I believe that he's a he's of love. He's love. He is, but sometimes love could be like other things, right? Like he can be war, he could be wrath at the same time. He's not just that, but if you understand, I don't know if that's clear, but
Yeah.
I believe Jesus is a mediator between us and God. I don't understand the deity of Jesus, if there is any, but I look to him as a king, as a teacher, as an example, as a brother, that what we should strive to be. Now, how I now everybody, like, there's the three Abrahamic religions: Judaism, Muslims, and Christians. They
Right.
all believe in the same one God of Abraham.
Right.
The Hindus believe based, well, kind of, they're kind of, well, they're, it's a little bit weird, but it kind of is the same. It goes down to, like, from what I know so far, like a Jesus type figure. It's like kind of the same stuff, but just a
They all
different
have kind
version.
of their own Messiah type
Yeah.
person,
Now, like,
equivalent to Christ.
Do all the Hindus go to hell because they grew up in that part of the world and that's how they understand it, and they didn't come to their understanding through Jesus because Jesus is the only way that every, like, is that how it's going to be? Like,
Even
do you
though
think
they
that?
share the history.
Yeah, like, yeah, and are all the Muslims going to hell? Like, are all the Jews going? Like, are all these people, everyone? Like, and I'm not saying there isn't Hindus and there isn't Jews and there isn't Muslims that would go to hell, just like there would be Christians that would go to hell. But are all these people, they're just damn based on geographic location? Like, basically,
No,
like
I
I
know.
can't. It seems wild to me that that's how God would handle the situation.
No, this is I'm really excited that you kind of brought that up because okay, first of all, when you said about God is war, in I believe it's Exodus 15, I think it says the Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind of like you could say he encompasses everything. I mean, we have to
That's right.
understand that he created this place, right? Now, when I was in the military, sorry I keep referring back to the military, but this is what I remember when we had to learn about the Middle East, not just their weapons and their military, their leadership, but we also had to learn about their culture and their religion. I had to read the Quran, and
Well, yeah.
I here's an interesting perspective that I think you would really want to dabble in, Clutch, because it just kind of tickles your mind. Okay,
Yeah, I
it
love that.
okay, so you said that everything kind of roots back to Abraham, right? Abraham had, what was it, the two sons, right?
For the
Esau,
three Abrahamic religions, yes. Yeah,
yes,
it all goes to
Esau,
him.
right? And aren't Christians descendants of, was it Jacob, and then the Muslims descendants of Esau? And I'm not sure about Hinduism, but I do remember that in their Quran they they glorified. Oh, can you still hear me?
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, okay. They kind of went like our Bible talks about the lineage of Christ, or and the righteous families going from Abraham down to Jacob, who was, what was it, the deceiver, right? That's the
Yeah,
meaning of the name Jacob, and his lineage were the ones that were the lineage of Judaism, right?
I
And
think so. Yeah.
the Quran follows the lineage of Esau. and
Oh yeah,
talks about how through his lineage the prophet Muhammad came about, right? Now
yeah.
Prophet Muhammad was not Jesus Christ. It was
Be
a
upon him.
right. And so it's picture this, if we step back and look at the big picture, okay? You've got a family feud, okay? This brother over here is mad because his little brother stole the whatever the namesake or the
His
blessing of his father.
inheritance, his
Yes,
blessing, his blessing.
right. And so when you read the Quran and it talks about those unbelievers, those infidels, the dirty people, it talks about the women of the infidels who are whores and who are liars, and they are, seducing the righteous men. What does that sound like to you? It sounds like what Christians say about the Muslims. It sounds like what Christians
No,
writings and
you're
teachings
you're
say about everything else.
you're
So
exactly right. Everything
so
you're
if
saying.
you and I got in an argument, right? But we have a mutual friend and we both go to that mutual friend and we tell our own side of the story. Of course, you ain't going to be no angel in my story. I'm going to sit there and talk all the crap about all the dirty little things you did and how you're a liar, and then you're going to go to this same person and you're going to tell them about how you tried to do the right thing, and she was just so rude and she hurt my feeling. You're going to start crying, because I'm sure that's what
You're
Clutch
exactly
does,
right. You're
right?
exactly
But you
right.
see my point? After
Yes.
thousands of years, what is this going to look like? What is this feud going to look like? And how does it spawn these wars? These wars,
Exactly.
and who's
So
going to
it
hell?
all
How do
back
we
to
know?
that. Yeah, no, it's fascinating. It's yeah. Yeah.
So if you ever, I don't encourage anybody to read the Quran, because to me it is a little disturbing because they do talk about cleansing of unbelievers by beheading,
See
by
now,
burning them alive. I'm
yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. But
Do you think that these guys were lying to me? Because I've known a few Muslims in my day, and they all say like Christ is a prophet. They don't believe that he's uh, the son of God. Like they don't believe he's an
no,
actual deity. But
he's not the blessed one.
but
Muhammad was the
they
blessed one.
yeah, right. Well, they think he's the last one, right? Yeah.
Right.
Now they and as far as I know, they're usually pretty cool with Christians. Like they don't. I, I feel like a lot of that Christian beheading stuff is propaganda. Now, the people I've talked to, they're like, no, like you would be because you are a believer. They think of you kind of as a lesser class, sort of, but you're a believer still. Am I wrong?
No, you you're hitting the head on a lot of things that I remember getting crammed down my throat during these training sessions about the people. Okay,
Yeah.
now let me illustrate a story for you. Okay, and I'm sort of picking on you a little bit, but pretend you're a 14-year-old girl, Clutch.
Yeah.
Okay, you live out in the deserts of Afghanistan. You have a little family homestead, a lot like what you already have there in Canada, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you're minding your own business, and you've been raised on the Muslim faith and Islam, and your family, your father, your mother, your brothers, they're gentle people. They are farmers. They are cattle ranchers. They you do what you do to survive, and you are taught to do the right thing. Don't lie. Don't hurt other people. Love others. You're a normal person. You like to go out, kick the ball, have fun, and then some tanks come rolling in. Let's not illustrate on which side these tanks are from. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. These people come rolling in, pointing guns at your family, asking you like where the enemy is. Have you talked to the enemy? What have you told the enemy? Are you helping the enemy? Do you have guns here? Do you did it? And you're just like, whoa, can I just go take care of my sheep? You know? And you write that out, and they roll away. You're a little shaken and scared, but okay, well, whatever. And then some more troops come from another direction and do the same thing, only this time you told them the truth because you're taught not to lie, right? You tell them, your father tells them, let's say your father tells them, yeah, there were just some men here and they had these tanks and they asked us questions, but we don't know what it's about. And then they start accusing your father of helping them. So you helped them, you let them go, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't report it. And your father's in a panic, your mother's crying, and to punish them, they cut your right hand off. Okay, are you feeling this?
Yeah,
What are you
exactly.
supposed to do? And here's the kicker, all this is happening because a small handful of people that happen to be the same religion as you, fanatically, with cults, with crazy ideas about flying airplanes into towers and killing mass murder, bombing places, they decided they were going to promote their cause by doing that. But you happen to be a Muslim like them. Now let's flip the coin. Are are all Christians not fanatical? Are all Christians perfect and good people like farmers and goat herders like people out there?
I think I remember some crusades or something that happened.
Yeah, we have a few crazies of our own. My point is, out of every group of people, there's always going to be some that's going to make the rest of us look bad. And it
Yeah,
doesn't matter if we're Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhists. These Buddhists that went to the Vietnamese capital and set themselves on fire in protest. Oh my God, I remember that. And then the Vietnamese, the woman, she wasn't the president, but his wife, she goes up there with her stupid Vietnamese accent and said, "Oh, if they want to go barbecue themselves, I cannot stop them." I saw this video on the news and I was so embarrassed because I'm thinking now the whole world's going to see this Vietnamese woman. And if they find out I'm Vietnamese, they're going to think I'm an idiot like her. Do you see how one fanatic can ruin it for the whole group?
yeah,
So my point is to your question about your Muslim friends. I'm sure they're good people.
yeah. They seem
And
like they
and
really do
and
seem.
I've had great experiences when I was deployed with Muslim women who I know this sounds weird. I went to the bathroom. When I actually found the right bathroom, I went into their bathroom and they have coat hooks all along the entranceway in a front room, and then you go to a second back room where the toilets actually are, and on the coat hooks are all their burqas hanging, and they
Uh-huh.
uncover themselves inside.
Yeah, because a
And
woman can see them.
yeah, and
That,
they're beautiful.
yeah.
They're most beautiful. They gave me tips on the eyeliner that doesn't melt off in 100 degrees. They gave me hair advice. They loved my hair. I love theirs. They're good people. There's always good people, but just because they're part of a group, and this is the problem with, I think, with any religion, including Christians. You have Christians out there like you and I were referring to with the black Nikes. Everybody in the world's looking at that group of the fanatics and thinking that the rest of us are just as out of our minds.
That's right.
And I think the ones that are cutting off heads and burning people alive are those crazies, and they're getting
Well,
all the attention. That's the
there's two
problem.
groups too, right? There's like Sunnis
Shiite,
and Shiites.
yep,
Yeah, yeah. There's so
and
much.
they are pretty savage on each other.
Yeah,
And but we had Native Americans here in North America. They're all Native
absolutely.
Americans, right?
They
They're
fought
all
each other.
Indians. Yeah,
Yeah.
the things they did to each other, you
And
know.
dude, when you were saying about how beautiful they were, it made me think of this time we were doing pest control, and there was a family from, I think it was Afghanistan, some Middle East. I'm pretty sure it was Afghanistan, and
Yeah,
only the daughter spoke really any English.
yeah,
I'm not sure how old she was. I'm not trying to be perverted in any way. She might have been 16 to 19, like she was young, but
right.
she was stunningly beautiful, like trying to not like and I'm not hitting on a 60, like, I'm not trying to be
No,
gross.
I get what you're
Please
saying.
understand
They
that
are. They are
it was,
gorgeous.
I was like, holy crap, like, and you trying to be very professional and like listening to her because but it was just
And you
it
just
was
get lost in those eyes. They have
yeah,
beautiful dark eyes. I know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah.
I I just dropped all my pride when I was in that bathroom, and I was like, "Do you speak English?" And they just kind of laughed at me, and they're like, "Yes, you're with the military, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're smart too." And I told them, I said, "I can't wear eyeliner here because I mean, it just comes right off. I can't wear anything." And they're like, "Oh, because you wear Maybelline." And I started laughing. They're they're witty, they're smart, and we just started talking like
And they're not oppressed. Like they're not.
no,
They don't feel like they're being oppressed there
no,
at all.
no,
So just
they normal girls just like
mhm.
me. And
We got a lot of Hutterites over here. Like I have a community that's nearby. They're like the Amish. They don't like they use electricity and they drive cars, but
oh, it's the devil.
they live in a community and like pretty much the elders control all the money of the community and they all farm together and there's communities all over Manitoba and they trade with each other.
Oh
Like
my god, that sounds amazing.
one focuses on vegetables, one focuses on dairy, one produces meat, like, and they trade them but they also sell to regular folks. And
Right.
but the women, they dress a very certain way. Like the men wear all the same type of like black pants, plaid shirt. The women all wear this certain like type of dress, and they have like a
The
bit of a
bonnet.
hair, yeah, a weird hair covering. It's almost like
Yep.
a yarmulke. It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're nice people. I used to uh, treat one of their meat processing plants as a pest control technician, and they all have a weird German accent though. It's kind of weird.
Yes. I know, I've heard of that. I've heard of it. I've never seen them, but
But yeah,
that
they're not
sounds
oppressed.
amazing. I think I really do want to move up there where you are.
Yeah, and they're not oppressed. The women don't. They're not. They can leave if they want. Like it's not a cult or anything. You know what I mean? Like some of them do break off and they'll like have their own little families just on a homestead or something, and because they want to control their own money or so. Some don't all
Right.
agree, but whatever. Yeah, they're cool people.
They're not all into socialism over there.
No.
Well,
But
that's
when back to sorry.
no. Go ahead.
When we were talking about like Hindus and Muslims, made me
Right.
think of this guy Swedenborg, Emmanuel Swedenborg. He's a weird dude, like an inventor. Um, he kind of like just a
Emmanuel.
weird, kind of like a Renaissance man back in the day. But I think like 17, 1800s, I believe. I could be wrong though. But
Oh,
he
okay.
he had some interesting views, and he said he talked to angels and stuff like that, weird stuff. I don't believe
Swedish theologian.
yeah, theologian.
Yeah, pluralistic Christian theologian, scientist,
I couldn't
philosopher,
say a
and
word
mystic.
before, but now I could.
I couldn't even. I still pluralistic Christian
Pluralistic.
theologian.
But
Okay,
he
let's not get hung up. But he became best known for his book on the afterlife, heaven and hell. Right?
correct. That's where I'm going with this. I
Okay.
believe I kind of subscribe to his interesting theory about heaven and hell and how it works and who goes, and I find it fascinating. And I think we're going to see a lot of Christians, a lot of Hindus, a lot of Muslims. It'll be a hodgepodge of people.
Huh. I mean, how do you subscribe? He died in 1770.
I, I,
17.
when I meant subscribe, I meant uh,
Been reading into it.
I agree with his idea of heaven. Like I'm kind of down with his idea. That's what I meant by subscribe.
Okay.
Not that I
I
subscribe to his
was like, how
YouTube
does this
channel.
guy have a YouTube
Now,
channel? He lived
there is a YouTube channel that talks about Swedenborg and like their whole like weird little Christian movement.
Wow.
Now it's weird because here you're going to get some symbolism right back to the beginning. It's called off the left eye. So
Really?
all one-eyed symbolism. Oh,
There it is.
yeah. So take it for what you will. But
No, I just wanted to look it up. When you first started saying his name, I thought you were describing some dude you went to high school with. I was like, okay, what about Emmanuel?
yeah, my old buddy Emmanuel Swedenborg. No. Yeah, he just like I don't know if you want me to tell you about it or you could just read about it yourself, his view of heaven, but it's very interesting and
Well,
yeah.
what I'll do is I'll pull the Wikipedia link that defines his lifetime because it has a whole list of the books and stuff, and yeah, it'll be available for all of us to kind of look at if you want.
Now,
So
to be clear, I don't subscribe to all his ideas. I just find his view on heaven and hell very interesting, and I like it. And I'm not recommending him. I'm not saying he's got the answers. You know what I mean? Like I'm just being clear. Like I'm not.
no, I know.
This isn't like I recommend. I'm not standing up for this dude, or you know what I'm saying.
No, I know, and I understand, and that's one thing I remember you and I talked about a little while ago, just like a few days ago, wasn't it? About necessarily not necessarily saying that we believe in something because we're reading it, and this kind of goes into a little bit of this hysteria stuff too. You know, we hung out last night, my husband and I, and we listened to some music. We even listened to like Jeremy Camp and Chris Tomlin, and some people think there's symbolism in that, and it's the devil. Okay, whatever. If I pick up a book, there's books that are fiction. There's books that I read for reference, and then there's the Bible. There's books about faith. I mean, I read everything. Now, does that mean that every single word I read out of a fiction novel is oh I'm gonna start believing it all now? That's not that's the point of today's topic. I kind of feel like is we got to be smart enough to know the difference between what is true to be believable, what isn't, and what we're trying to learn about.
And
I
also being able to take truth from like a story can give me some truth and some insight into life, and I can take that and I can leave the rest.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't mean that you follow that doctrine. Now, here's another example. Okay,
Exactly.
I just told you all about how I had to read the Quran. Does that make me a Muslim?
Yep.
It does?
No, I'm just being a dick.
Dude, I'm like, sometimes it takes me 2 seconds to get your jokes.
I know.
But
I'm kind of. I got a bit of a dry sense of humor. So sorry.
but see, here's the interesting thing that I think also benefits everybody to just open your mind up to something. Just because you're opening your mind up, the military has American military members reading the religious script of the enemy, quote unquote. Okay, I say that with sensitivity because I don't
Sun
necessarily.
Tzu, know your enemy.
Right, right. And here's another ironic thing: Sun Tzu is not Christian,
No,
right?
I've read the Art of War.
Okay,
I
and
have a
so
copy of it. It's
let's
just
just yeah, let's try to understand that just because we're reading it, hearing it, seeing it, doesn't mean we're just buying into it mindlessly. Sometimes you need to study to understand the other side. And when you better understand the other side, it kind of helps you see how people see you as a Christian or not a Christian in our case, right? But
whatever.
but that's one of the reasons why I don't. One of our rules in this talk that you and I do, Clutch, is that we welcome everybody to state their opinions and their views, right? But we're not going to argue because when you have fanatics that come in and just yell and scream and all that, then you pretty much push them away even harder. If you said last week that if a Satanist wanted to come in and state their views, great. We'll hear you out. But I mean, to be fair, if we argue with them, they're never going to want to hear us out either. And there goes the opportunity to possibly bring in somebody from the dark side over to a person of faith. I mean, right?
Yeah. There's a
And
famous quote. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
no, that's all I was going to say, and that's what I meant.
There's a famous quote that, and I can't remember who said it, so pardon me, anyone who listens to this. Uh, Basically, paraphrasing, a sign of intelligence, a true sign of intelligence, is being able to entertain an idea even though you don't agree with it, right? Being able to
Right?
think about it, mull it over, and that's kind of what you're saying. And
Isn't that Albert Einstein?
I
True
don't
sign of intelligence is not knowledge but imagination. Oh no, that's
know.
freaking Google. Don't
No,
trust
not Einstein.
Google.
I wouldn't quote Einstein. He's a cousin fucker.
Tell me how you really feel.
That guy didn't. He
Oh
doesn't know shit. I contest he doesn't know
no,
anything.
I
He's full of it.
I
Full
agree.
of it.
I just didn't realize you were just gonna just blurt that out. I googled a sign of intelligence and it brought up that. So that was the wrong. But yes, a sign of intelligence is that you are constantly wondering. Idiots are always dead sure about every damn thing. Okay, that's just somebody's opinion on
And
Pinterest.
and I want people, like anyone listening to this. It'd be interesting. Like we've talked to Teresa, but anybody, like if you want, get in contact with us and let's talk. Like we can have an interesting conversation, and that's
Yeah.
it. That there's nothing more to it. I just want to
Well,
have interesting conversations.
I agree. I agree. It's not that I'm getting bored with what you have to say, but a different point of view. I just want to make sure that people that want to talk with us, and anybody's welcome, but don't come in here with guards up, ready to fight, because I
No dirty laundry.
no dirty laundry.
We
Amen.
don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your drama. I got enough stuff in my own life. I don't need it here. Just do your, like we're just here to talk. That's
I
it.
agree. I agree. And we had what didn't we title one of our other talks like something with heretics? Because we
Yeah.
gotta be
Like
able to laugh at
tea and
ourselves.
the sandwich with heretics. Tea and sandwich.
Yes,
Yeah.
we've
I
got to
like
be
that.
able to laugh at ourselves, but at the same time,
And
dude,
like if you're so strong in your view, why can't you have a discussion with someone about it? You sound like people who support a certain procedure and always claim there's so much evidence about a procedure, but are never able to really
yeah,
provide such evidence to my knowledge anyway. I could be wrong, but it, just if you're so confident, discuss it openly without getting mad. Let's just
yeah,
talk about it. And then even if I'm wrong and you still think I'm wrong, if your idea was so solid in your head, I wouldn't have been able to convince you. It's like you're homophobic because you think that if you see a dick you're going to want to suck it or something. Like what? Like if I see that, that's not going to be my first thought, right? Like I'm not. Oh, I'm just so weak in my heterosexuality that I'll just cave it. Do you get the analogy? Like what the
kind of.
like
I just think no, I do understand what you're saying. I just I pictured
I
basic
say things
training.
like that just to be a little shocking and just to like wake people up, and to kind of be funny. But
No,
you
but
get what I'm.
that's the point. That's the
Like
point,
I
Clutch.
know that if I went to a gay bar, I'm not like leaving with I'm not gonna hook up and get married to a gay guy, right? Like
Right,
I'm not going to one. I'm just saying if I did,
right. But
right?
that's
You
the
get what I'm
thing. We
saying,
gotta stop. People have got to stop doing the fear porn thing.
right?
You've
And it's the
said this
same as my
before.
ideas. Like if
Yeah,
whatever you say to me, you're not gonna shake me in my ideas because I believe what I believe because I've read a lot and I've watched a lot and I feel like I've come to an informed opinion. So.
and that may change. Who knows?
It might. And if I have an interesting conversation with someone who's not angry and yelling at me, maybe their idea will tickle my mind. I'll be able to think about it more and they'll convince me, right? But they'll never
Right.
convince me when they're yelling at me.
Amen. I agree. That was kind of like my whole thing with, you know, whenever I'm talking to somebody. I mean, and you even left a comment on that video I made. And when you're condescending, it's not necessarily just yelling, but it's also that acting like I'm better than you, talking to you like, oh, Clutch, that's okay. Well, maybe
Like
we'll teach you more about it later, or a little condescending comments about maybe
like
we'll,
bless your heart.
yeah, oh, bless his heart. He doesn't think it's all, he thinks he's intelligent. It's all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Here's another thing when somebody starts talking to me like, well, I want to help you with that. You gonna help me? How, what? I didn't realize I was asking for help. Little things like that, makes people automatically shut down and just get defensive because, well, of course, you're treating them like a kid. We we're not about that. We're not
No,
gonna do that.
no,
So
absolutely. I don't even treat my kids like that. I'm pretty open with them. Like I talk about even stupid stuff I did in the past. I can tell them like some of the stuff because I want them to.
be real
I want
people.
well, yeah, like I want them to be informed. I want them to learn from my mistakes, but I also want them to know I'm not a geek. Like when I say, "Oh, don't do that," I'm not just some nerd who like never did it. I did it, and it's
Yeah.
stupid to do it. So, like, kind of for that, and just so they're not like shell shocked when they do hear something, right? And I can give them my take on the situation, whatever it is. This is the way I see it, and it's coming from your dad and not some kid on the street.
Well, here's you just brought up a great idea. This is my thought. When you're talking to somebody that you think is wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to convince them as a person that doesn't know them, there's a detached there. They are not going to connect with you, and they don't care really what you have to say. But when
Mm-hmm.
you are trying to talk to somebody that you love, when I talk to my son, I never get condescending with him. I never treat him like he's stupid. I don't think my own son is stupid. I never disrespect my husband that way. If I disagree with something with him, I don't talk to him like, well, that's okay. It's because you've never done it before. I would never, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
even if they're a stranger, maybe we should talk to them as if they're somebody that in our family or a friend, because that respect is going to make them more receptive
And
than
like
the bad attitude.
in Marco's chat today when he was talking about
Oh yeah,
Lot and and all that, how oh, where was I going
somebody.
with it?
We'll just say somebody, no names, right?
No,
We'll
no,
just
no,
say
no, 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 no. What he read in the Bible. Sorry, what were you just saying? I lost my
when you
thought.
treat somebody like a
Right,
loved one
because
and you
sorry,
talk to
here
them.
because remember who you could entertain. Sometimes you might entertain God himself. You don't
That's
know, like
right.
angels. Who knows? Like who knows who you're talking to? So you should always have a certain way about how you speak to people for sure.
Be humble.
Yeah, I'm very much in agreement. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
I like it.
and I failed. Like I tried all the time, but sometimes I don't get it. But I try more times than not. I
We
succeed.
all try, Clutch, and that's the difference between somebody who wants to genuinely care about other people, and if we're trying to, you know, I don't want to say that I'm trying to bring people toward faith, because I think God has that under control. If I take control of something like that, I'm basically saying God can't do it. I'm trying to be an example, a witness, I guess. That witnessing is kind of, to me, like, just, hey, this is what God's done for me because I was such a wretch. If He can do it for me,
Yeah.
hey, you're not hopeless. And I tell people that all the time, like, I've done worse than you. You know, I that's kind of
I
the mission for me, is
it,
just go ahead.
yes, like I'm surprised that people even want to listen to us talk. Even like 30 or 40, sometimes 50 people want to hear what we have to say. That's
Oh,
surprising
I
to me.
know.
And I'm humbled by it. But like I don't know anything again. Like they and like you were saying, I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm not trying to, that's all up to God, but they'll know us by our fruit. So if we're doing the right thing,
Yes.
they'll want to live that life. And that's not to say that everything I do is right, because I really, dude, I got my own issues. Like, I am definitely not a perfect person by any stretch of the imagination, but I really too, like it, I do try to have self-reflection, and I try to like improve
Improve.
myself and be honest with myself. I really am, and I know where I do need to improve, and where I don't. Like,
You
not to
know
sound,
you.
not to brag or anything. Like, there's some places I got it on lock, and then some places not so much.
Is that the joke that you brought for us today?
No, but I do have one. I do have one. It's a
You
little,
do?
yeah, it's a little edgy, but so there's a roadblock, right? Uh,
Okay.
Imagine the police have this roadblock set up, and two priests are traveling together, and they come to the roadblock. And do you know this one?
No, but I can't wait.
So
Okay.
the police officer comes to them and says, "Sorry, fathers, we have this roadblock set up because we're looking for a child molester." And the two priests look at each other, and they speak quietly to one another, and then they turn to the officer, and they say, "We'll do it."
Oh no. You know what the really sad part about that joke is? I could
What's
never get a strike for that. That'll fly, but anything else about medical information would have not been okay. But that one is.
Woo!
Oh no. We're going to hell.
Maybe, I don't
maybe
know.
that's maybe that's what it is. The line is the people who made jokes like that. But that was a good one, bro. That was a good
Oh,
one. I gotta
sorry.
tell my husband that one.
I,
So,
I tried it out this morning in a chat, and it
oh,
got some
did you?
chuckles. Yeah, not Marco's, like a different one.
Oh, that
No,
would have been.
I wouldn't do it back there. I wouldn't do that.
Oh
That's not.
man,
You got to know your audience.
yeah, yeah. I'm definitely telling my son and my husband that one. They'll love that. All
Awesome.
right. Well, you're the
I told
best.
my wife she was like a robot. She didn't even laugh. And then I'm like, "You get it? Do you get?" And she's like, "Yeah, I get it. Like, they'll
I
do
do.
it." But she's like, "It wasn't that funny." I was like, "Oh."
I I started like looking at dad jokes online and stuff, and I actually emailed my human resources lady a one-liner, and I was like, "Well, this will either make or break my career." And she wrote back. She's smart. She's good. She wrote back and she said, "It's a good thing you're getting paid to do something else." I was like, "Oh, I'll text you the joke later." But
Awesome.
thank you for the joke. Thank you for the talk, boy. That was I feel like I got a lot off my chest and my mind and my thoughts about things that I've been thinking about lately. So
Well, that's
that
good.
helps definitely, and
Awesome.
hopefully we helped somebody else. So
Right
I'm
on.
gonna end it there since the joke is just too good. All
I
right,
don't know if
man.
it's that good. Later.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.